Well, we are going over our free office hour, and Nick brought up something that I think is worthwhile sharing with the rest of you, and it comes up quite a bit. I will link to lectures, the whole lectures I have on this. However, the question is, how do we recognize a spread when it's missing premiums? So first, Nick, I'm going to give you the rules, and then I'm going to explain those rules to you. So long, let's say it this way: lower, higher, longer. And I will explain this to you in just a bit. So if we're looking at Apple, let's just put Apple's price up here. Apple is $178 per share, 178. That is the current market price of Apple. And we have available to us, Nick, we have 175 calls. Boom. And we have a 180 call available. There's a lot of ways to think about this. But what is more desirable, having a choice to buy at 175? Yeah, well, I would tell you, Stephanie, that most of us who are from the securities industry are skeptical of insurance. I have a friend of mine, he said, Dean, I don't want to make a bet with an insurance company that I got to die to collect. And I said, well, Jim, you're missing the point of insurance. That's not really what the insurance is about. It's about your wife and your kids. So, and trust me, Chuck and Schwab, they have health insurance. That's some of the best out there. Anyways, so in this case, Nick, a choice to buy Apple is 175 is more desirable. Would you agree that a choice to buy at 175 is more desirable than a choice to buy at 180?
Yep.
And so that means that regardless of these premiums, what we've illustrated is that lower strike call contracts are always going to have a higher premium.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so now we're going to just apply that to a spread that is missing premiums, right? So, a spread, remember, is when I'm long and short the same type of contract. I'm long and short the same type of contract. And we're not doing a lecture on spreads. We're just talking about being able to identify spreads when missing premiums. So let's say that I sell or short one Apple December 175 call, and let's put that in green. Now this is missing the premium, Nick, but let's just think about it before I do anything. If that's all you do, boy, are you a dumb bear, right? Because if that's all you do is agree to sell Apple that you don't own at 175, I'm going to say, wow, picking up nickels in front of bulldozers, my friend. I don't know what that premium is. What I highly recommend you do is take part of your money and put in a ceiling, right? You have a floor at 175, but you don't have a ceiling. And so what we're going to do here is put in a ceiling at 185. Boom. So now this is missing premiums. And the question on the exam is this a credit spread or is this a debit spread? Well, what we do is we say, well, I know that lower strike call contracts always have greater premiums. And so I know this one that we're selling is going to have a greater premium than the one we are buying. So boom, that's have the greater premium. This one is going to have the lower premium. And so now I can figure out this is indeed a credit spread. By the way, if I flip this around, Nick, it would be the opposite, right? If we bought the 175, it'd be a debit because the lower strike always has greater premiums. All right, so back to our example here. Back to our example. So Apple's at 178. And we could be looking at a 180 put. Or we could be looking at a 175 put.
You put by high.
What's that?
So like you put by is it kind of inverse calls
It
and
is
puts like
indeed, right? This is neat. So we're getting ready to do a put here. And so if you go back to options basic contract specifications, what is more desirable? A long put, remember, is a choice to sell. A choice to sell at 180, what's more desirable? Or a choice to sell at 175? What is more desirable? A choice to sell at 180 or a choice to sell at 175?
180,
Indeed. So now we just proven, and then we're going to apply it. We just proven that higher strike put contracts always have greater premiums. Lower, higher, longer. Lower, higher, longer. So now we got a higher strike put. Let's put that there. Put contracts always have greater premiums. Boom. And now we're going to look at a spread and we're going to try and determine without the premiums, whether debit or credit. Now, what we said here, let me just add that. We said here that in a call spread, the lower strike call is always dominant because that's always going to be the one that has the higher strike. So boom. And now I'm going to illustrate that in a put spread, it's going to be the higher strike that's dominant because that's going to have the dominant. It's going to be dominant. There's going to be just driving the transaction, so to speak. So here Dean goes. I buy one Apple December 180 put. Now, again, if that's all I do, Nick, I'm going to pay a premium. I'm going to have a choice to sell at 180. 180 or higher, the put expires. I'm a loser, right? What I wanted to do is go down. By the way, the conversation is not testable. But you know what I want to do here is I want to lower my out-of-pocket cost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the lower strike to help me pay for the higher strike. Again, conversation is not testable. So again, now we're looking at a spread that is missing premiums, right? So I say, okay, well, it's missing premiums. I'm being asked about what's going on. And, you know, this is the thing that's going on. That's the dominant leg, which is bearish, not what we're trying to do right now. But what we are saying and what we are doing right now is that the higher strike put is going to have the greater premium. And that's the one we're buying, right? And this one is going to have the lower premium. And so that means this one is going to be dollars out. As you know, you've probably seen me do this a gazillion times, but you know, this is dollars out. You know, some people call that a debit, some people call that a minus, you know, whatever floats your boat. And this is dollars in. And so now we can determine that indeed this is a debit put spread because we have more money out than in, right? By the way, if I reversed it, it would be a credit spread, right? Because the 180 put would have the greater premium. All right, so our last one is, let's go back here. And you know, we have a choice to buy. We can buy Apple, have a choice to buy Apple between now and December, which we've been looking at, or choice to sell Apple between now and December. But we could also have one from February or a choice to March or April. I'll take the short perspective, Nick. The longer you want me to be a potential victim, I'm going to charge you. Because I'm saying, Nick, you got to be right about three things. You got to be right about direction, up or down, how far, and the timing. And so it makes sense that the longer I give you to be right, the more it's going to cost you, right? So for a leap, for example, it costs a lot of me. So longer term option contracts, and I'm going to illustrate it to you, Longer term option contracts always have greater premiums. So again, longer term option contracts always have greater premiums. And that means that that's going to be the dominant leg again. Because when we're missing premiums, to figure out what the heck's going on, we got to be able to say, okay, well, what's going on here? And it's going to be the longer term option that is dominant, because that's the one that's going to have the greater premium. So let's just put one up here, and let's say it's an Apple December 175 call. And let's say that is the one that we are selling. So let's put sell. And now we're going to buy an Apple. Come on, Apple March 175 call. So again, we're trying to determine that, it's missing premiums. This is a calendar spread, by the way, sometimes got a horizontal spread. And we're going to know that the March is the dominant leg, right? Because the one that has the greater premium is what's going on. Right. So this is going to be a debit. Yeah, there's going to be a debit calendar spread, right? Because that has the greater premium. Again, we can just put that here. Boom. Let me get my annotation tool. So this one has the greater premium. And we'll put that in red because we're buying it. And this one is going to have the lower premium. And we'll put that in green because we're selling it. And boom. And again, if, everybody has different ways to do options. There's no real right way to do options, but as long as you come with right answers. However, that being said, what Dean uses is dollars out versus dollars in. And so that's going to be dollars out. And this is going to be dollars in. And so there are all the permutations of spreads that are missing premiums. By the way, that's what that question is going to be about. It's not going to be so much like an aim and shoot point and click thing. It'll be a spread where it's missing premiums. And then you have to kind of figure out based on that, whether it's a debit or credit spread, right?
So how did you come up with the greater premium for the by March?
Because March is longer term. So having a choice to March, being in control of the stock till March is going to cost more than being in control till December.
Oh, okay.
Longer term options always have greater premiums. The way I've been, I'm trying to turn it into a mantra. I'm not sure it's working, but lower, higher, longer. Right. So if you get a missing premiums, I don't know. Let me know, Nick, if it works. But what I'm hoping is when people missing premiums, Julie, they go lower, higher, longer. Lower, longer, lower, higher, longer. Okay. So lower, higher, longer. Okay. So I'm going to open my eyes. I'm not going to look right now. I'm going to open my eyes. I'm just going to look at it. Is it a call spread? Is it a put spread? Damn, it's missing premiums. Okay. So if I open my eyes and it's a call spread, I'm going to look at the lower strike call that has the greater premium. If I'm buying it, it's a debit call spread. If I'm selling it, it's a credit call spread. Damn, well, man, it's a put. Okay. Lower, higher. Okay, puts. That's what you got to kind of do. I don't think, again, if you tell me you missed the test because of spreads missing premiums, I'm not going to believe you, but it's there. I mean, people, whatever people aren't familiar. I don't know if you guys are following social media, but, there was a guy the other day in social media said he had 60 option questions, and that's impossible. It's really impossible. But I think whatever you're not prepared for, that's what you're going to swear you had 60 of. Right. So I think that's what happens is people, and then I had a guy the other day say he didn't have any options. I don't believe that either. I just think he was good at them, so good at them that it didn't register on his brain housing group that he had them. But about 20, the vast majority of the questions are going to be basics and covered calls. So the advanced option strategies are there, but I don't think they're going to make you or break you. Does that Nick, I hope that helps. I do have entire videos on this as well. I probably have 5 different videos on spreads. I have spreads missing premiums, and I think it's called What's the Spread is the thumbnail on that if you want to go find that. I have questions where people have found their Kaplan QID. If you go to the search bar and you put in missing premiums or you put in spread, all the questions and videos that I've made, I have individual videos where I've done actual questions for people, as well as lectures available as well. All right, so that was pretty good. That's pretty good. We're going to share that with the rest of the world.